Case study, Standard 8, EDL 853, Mark Mahoney. The summary of this case study is about a first-year special education teacher who works in a rural district. It has 16 schools in this rural district, and it covers about 800 miles. The new teacher is Miss Susan Green. She's taking over for a veteran of 25 years that was in the special education department. Part of this rural community is they are limited on their resources, they're limited on their administration, and their supervision. The setting for this case study is a third grade student whose name is Carl, who is dealing with recently divorced parents, who has two older siblings who are in junior high, who are dealing with emotional and aggression issues, as well as Carl is. The general education teacher, Mrs. Taylor, is Carl's teacher, and she is struggling 6 weeks into the school with Carl's aggression, Carl used to be aggressive with himself. Now he's being aggressive towards the teacher, and she is scared that she might get hurt by Carl, or other students might get hurt, and her classroom is being disrupted by Carl's behavior. They have met with the parents. They are working on setting up a new IEP to pull Carl out of the classroom when he disrupts it, and can come to the resource room and calm down. The superintendent has approved this. The parents have approved this, and they'll see what actions take place next. Category 1, what do I know? Number 1, Carl is on an IEP for his aggression, for his behavior. Number 2, Carl has two siblings, both in junior high, who are receiving services for emotional problems. Number 3, Susan is a first-year teacher who lacks experience and is not getting the respect and support for this case, being a new teacher. Number 4, Carl's parents have been divorced for 3 months. Mr. Hughes is the one that left Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Hughes now has to work 50 hours a week to put food on the table and take care of her children. Number 5, the general education teacher wants Carl out of the classroom. She cannot control him. She feels for her safety and wants him out. And number 6, the new IEP is being developed to help Nancy, Carl, and Susan reach their goals. Category 1, what do I need to know? What is changing Carl's behavior? What has happened in the last 6 weeks that has made him more aggressive towards people and not just himself? What services are the siblings receiving? Are they working for them? Do they work for Carl? Mom mentioned that older brother was on Ritalin. That is up to the doctor, of course. Number 3, what are the reasons why Nancy wants Carl out? Is it she cannot control him? She's scared of him? Is there another third grade teacher? What did the teacher last year do for Carl? How is his behavior in second grade? Number 4, what steps did Nancy use in the first 6 weeks to deal with Carl and his outburst and his aggression? What has changed? Number 5, is there any support at home? It sounds like there's not, with mom working all the time and dad out of the picture, but is there any support from siblings, aunt, uncles, anybody else at home to help Carl with his aggressions? And number 6, is Carl having any other behavior issues with other teachers, such as music, art, PE, the special classes that he goes there for 30 or 40 minutes a couple times a day? Are those teachers having the same issues in their classroom? Category 2, plan of action. Step 1 for Carl, I think a mentor program with other students might be beneficial for him. Weekly meetings with a counselor to talk to Carl maybe on Mondays. What happened over the weekend? Was Carl ignored all weekend? Was he helped? Did he have a good weekend? Number 3, services for the family. Are they available? Family management. At least the parents can get along enough for the children. Number 2, Mrs. Taylor. Mrs. Taylor needs to document Carl's behavior, what is triggering his behavior, maybe what time of day, and document as much as possible for support of Carl. Number 2, have other teachers observed Carl's behavior. Maybe have another teacher in the classroom observe Carl for a day, switch that in and out so that they can see what's going on, as you know, when they're focusing just on Carl while the other teacher, Mrs. Taylor, focuses on the whole class. And lastly, a professional development for behavior management. I think that's something the school district can do, the superintendent can do, and that would provide more information for all teachers involved. Mrs. Green, number one, follow-up meeting regarding the new IEP, maybe after a week or 2 weeks. Pull everybody together, see what's working, what's not. And this might be a document that we are revising throughout the year till we find out what works. Number two, Mrs. Green needs to observe Carl by herself, follow him if she can, and speak to him as much as possible to build a relationship with him. And lastly, professional development for behavior management. I think as a new teacher, this would be very beneficial, not only for her, but also to help regular ed, general ed teachers with these type of issues. And step 4, overall, I think everybody needs to listen to Carl. Hear what he has to say, document what he has to say, see what he likes, see what he doesn't like, and help him control his aggression. Number 2, provide professional development for all staff. Like I said earlier, this would be beneficial for everybody. Carl and Carl's siblings and other students might be in their school system for a long time, being a rural community. And I think with limited resources, this would help everybody involved. Number 3, document and observe as much as possible. And lastly, need to build an environment where everybody is working towards one goal, and that is student success and student safety. Category 3, best actions for students. Number 1, we want the entire school to work in collaboration to ensure that every student is getting as much education and as much resources as possible to be successful. Number 2, I think a weekly newsletter to faculty, students, and families would improve community involvement. I realize it is a widespread 800-mile rural community, but I think if everybody was on the same page, we might be able to reach our goals a little bit easier. Number 3, different techniques to de-escalate any type of aggression or behavior to ensure that the classroom is working together and that everybody is safe and the environment is positive and we're reaching our goals in the classroom. Number 4, a mentor program developed for new teachers when they enter the community. It is a different community than what most teachers are used to. Having someone you can rely on to understand the ins and outs of the school will be very beneficial. Number 5, as role models as teachers, we need to model that behavior. Behind closed doors, we can work things out, but in the classrooms, we need to be there for our students and show that we are one big community working towards a common goal. And lastly, have an awards program to promote Carl's behavior, whether it be an extra 5 minutes at recess, but I think Carl and the teachers all need to be involved in this program. Resolution. As we said earlier, there is little to no administration in this community, but they need to be there to support us and give us the resources we need to help resolve these issues so they do not escalate even further and someone might get harmed. Number 2, every student, especially Carl, it sounds like, needs to be positively reinforced. Find the good things, as small as they might be. Find the good in Carl and promote that positive behavior so that maybe Carl starts feeling better about himself, and maybe that will help his discipline in school and help his self-confidence. Number 3, what is the real reason for Carl's behavior? Is it the recently divorce, the splitting of the family? Are his siblings changing? Is he left at home? Is he getting picked on the bus or in the classroom? Once we find that, I think we can start resolving the issue. Number 4, is Carl getting all the services he needs, whether it be medication, whether it be counseling, whether it be group therapy as a family? Can we give Carl more resources to help him deal with these issues? And lastly, number 5, the IEP for Carl needs to be followed to the T. Like I said earlier, this might be a working document, but we need to follow that as closely as possible to ensure Carl's best interest. Number 4, category 4, number 1, debrief the problem Number one is the lack of experience of a first-year teacher versus a 25-year veteran. Number two, removing a child from the classroom. That's probably what they want. That is not warranted based on his behavior. He needs to stay in a general education classroom as much as possible. Number three, what factors are causing the change? Like I said earlier, is it home? Is it the teacher? What else is going on in his life? Number four, getting support from the administration, getting them involved, getting them actively helping everybody involved. And lastly, the support and resources of what is going on in Carl's life and what is triggering this behavior. Number four, what was I thinking, feeling, and valuing? First of all, is the teaching staff getting everything they need to be successful, not only for Carl, but for all their students? There was no mention of counselors. Number two, what are the counselors' role in Carl's life and the teacher's life? Number three, what kind of culture are we building? Is it positive? Is it negative? Do we need to change that to promote success for everybody? Number four, the administration really wasn't talked about. It sounds like they were scattered all over the area. Probably having an administrator at that building at all times would help maybe de-escalate some of those cases. Number five, Carl has to be the main center of focus at this time. We need to get him on the same page as us and get him to want to be in school and enjoy being in school and enjoy being around other people. Number six, does the family want help? Is there help for them to receive? And will they take that help to resolve their issues for the betterment of the children? And number seven, Carl leaving the classroom would make him feel abandoned. I think he already feels abandoned with the divorce and dad leaving. I think trying to have stability in his 8 to 3 daily life would really support Carl's mental and social well-being. Category 5, effective management. As a principal, I think communication is the key. Whether it's communication from teacher to principal, teacher to teacher, teacher to counselor, teacher to families, we need to make sure that our communication skills are on point, and we're doing that as much as possible. Getting the parents involved. Yes, they were forced to be in the IEP. It took them a couple of days to get back, but keeping them on the same page, I think will make things a little bit easier. Number 3, update the IEP. It's something that probably need to be reviewed with Carl's behavior and as he grows. Number 4, what safety guidelines can Mrs. Green and Mrs. Taylor follow? Is there male support, being that Carl is much bigger than the teachers? And lastly, the professional development for teachers to work towards a common goal, collaborate together to see what works, what doesn't work, and what will benefit the child the most. Promote social learning for each student. Number 1, ensure that Carl receives the social and mental support he needs in order to be successful not only with his behavior but in his academic life. Number 2, Carl needs to be in an environment that is least restrictive and that is stable and consistent as much as possible. Number 3, not only the teachers, the support staff, the paras, administration are all on the same page with each other and reaching the same goal to ensure that not only Carl but all students are successful. And lastly, the triggers. What triggers Carl's behavior? Is it a certain time? Is it a certain subject? Is it with nutrition? What triggers it, and how can we handle it and document those situations? And promote academic learning. Number 1, as a school district, it is important that we give our students all the services that we have for them and that they're available for the teachers and the students. Number 2, a detailed action plan or an IEP on what we're going to do when Carl has those outbursts, what safety measures are we going to take, and what we're going to do for Carl if he does have those outbursts. Number 3, we need to document everything, whether it's be recording or on paper, to see what triggers it, document that information, and record it and give that to everybody involved in Carl's caseload. And lastly, all teachers involved with Carl need to collaborate on a weekly basis via email or face-to-face and monitor what he's been doing and has it been successful. Thank you.